Now, this day begins, as so many of my days do, with making pancakes. I've made this almost every day for the past 2 years, so it's become a habit at this point. And I do want to say it's probably one of the only habits in my life. I'm not a routine person. I do not do well with habit building and consistently sticking to things. So this isn't going to be one of those days in the life where I try to claim that I'm doing productive, wonderful, fulfilling things every single day, because I'm not. These pancakes really do represent the one consistency in my life. Now, part of the reason that I make these pancakes so often is that my daughter absolutely loves them, but also they're just so easy to make. All you have to do is mash up one banana, add one egg, and about 4 spoonfuls of plain flour, and then half a teaspoon of baking powder. Now, I always bring this back from the UK with me because Italians, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it possible to just buy plain baking powder here that doesn't have vanilla added to it? I'd love to know. Then you add a little drizzle of plain olive oil, some milk, and you have this batter that you then just pour into your pan and leave until you see bubbles and then flip. And that's it, they're done. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I never stick to a routine, so my mornings are always slightly different. Sometimes I sit down and have a proper breakfast. Usually, I just snaffle a couple of pancakes just straight after I've made them without even sitting down. That's the reality of life here. But I do always have a coffee before I get dressed and before I do anything else, even if we're running late, which is why we tend to be a bit chaotic in leaving the house and often get to nursery just as the bell is about to ring. So at this point, I have delivered the children to school and I am back. Now, it's going to be a really hot day today, so I do what any Mediterranean dweller will do, and that is shut all of the shutters to try to keep the house as cool as possible. We're lucky enough to live in a really historic house that has super thick walls, so as long as you do this, it can stay quite cave-like right up until the proper summer heat arrives. And then, joy of joys, we needed to handle some Italian bureaucracy. So I went with my husband to help him try to get his residency card renewed because I had already been through this ordeal before. The wait was horrifically long, so I decided to take the dog and go for a coffee. I just wanted to point out the horse butcher there. They are very popular in this part of Italy. I also love that here in lots of small towns, the local council will have a board outside the offices that tell you when a baby's been born, and it says, "Congratulations, welcome to the world, little Lorenzo," or whatever. Really sweet. Anyway, I made a dash to the nearest bar and did a bit of writing in my journal while we waited before we finally managed to complete the job and got to go home. Back home to the cave. Sorry, it's so dark. We're just trying to keep it cool. But it was leftovers for lunch. Nothing very exciting. Just leftover roast vegetables that I microwaved and ate with a hearty dollop of mayonnaise because that's the reality of lunches here. And I ate while I made a start on some of the edits to my book. So this is the academic book that's based on my thesis. And then I saw the dog having a little snooze on the sofa. And I was so exhausted today, I think just from the heat, that I also had to have a little post-bureaucracy nap. Now, one of the privileges of working for yourself is that you get to put a load of laundry on at 2:30 in the afternoon. And this is a really interesting time in my life. I finished a PhD, the children are in daycare, and I have this time to work on projects. So I'm writing a novel, I'm also doing the monograph edits, and I'm putting the methodology that I created during my doctoral research and channeling it into sensory history workshops for students. This is a project I've been working on for the last few months, and I'm really making progress, and it's really exciting to think about what the next few months is going to look like. I got this iced coffee made from super sweet Sicilian almond milk. I can't remember the name now, but it just makes the best iced coffee. You don't have to add any sugar to it. It's just gorgeous. So far this morning, and actually we're at like 3 now, so there's not that much of the working day. And I'm just going to jump in here to say that in this moment I realised that I'm covered in emulsion, and I just sort of glitch while I try to figure out what the hell I'm going to do about it. This kind of ties in with what I was about to say. I've just realised that I've got paint, wet emulsion all over me. Oh my god, over my white shirt. So I was carrying a tray with a half-finished tub of paint that I was moving to its new home, and it's apparently gotten all over my clothes. No, what I was going to say was that this day really hasn't gone to plan. I wanted it to be as productive as possible, and I was hoping that maybe by filming it would make it as productive as possible, but a combination of Italian bureaucracy, which always takes far longer than you expect, and also just being really tired. It's been super hot here. It's actually a bit colder today, but I think that every year actually at this time of year, when we just get like the first heat wave, that sudden heat just knocks me out for a couple of days. So I've been exhausted, so I did have to take a little nap there with the dog. So I haven't done much writing. I was working this morning on my monograph edits, and then now I'm hoping to do a bit of the novel before I have to pick up the girls from school, but I'm going to have to try to sort this out. Hopefully I can bleach it. I don't know. Anyway, I've moved locations. We're now in the garden, and there's a slight breeze. It's lovely. The garden's looking a bit of a mess. I'll show you very quickly. But my husband and his family made some decking, so that's looking great, but it has resulted in losing a lot of our grass to a big pile of dirt. So that dirt's being removed, but we now have a huge patch of lawn that's not lawn anymore. So apart from that, it's looking quite nice. In the garden at this point, at the end of May, our wall is covered in sweet-smelling star jasmine, and our rose is absolutely thriving. We have loads of these geraniums, we have petunias and fuchsias blooming. It's a lovely place to work from, which is what I'm doing here. I'm actually doing edits to my book. It's very slow work and a bit boring, which is why I keep on putting it off. Please don't tell my editor. It's Friday, and that means that when the girls come home, there's just this big sigh of relief. We made it through the week, and this evening I managed to even read a few pages of my book in relative peace. So this evening we decided to go out for pizza. Now usually we always order in on a Friday. It's a bit of a Friday tradition, but we decided to take the girls out and eat in the pizzeria today, because they're so lovely in there, and it's nice to not have to deal with any washing up. Now this was arguably a bit of a mistake because they did have a meltdown, so it wasn't the most relaxing time, but we still enjoyed some really delicious pizzas. So I think that the best pizza you can order from this particular pizzeria is a bomba, and it has spicy salami and black olives and gorgonzola. And it's absolutely delicious. It was such a perfect May evening, balmy in the air perfume with jasmine and the smell of the barbecue from our local oratorio. It's currently in the middle of its 2-week-long festival, which means loads of parties, tombolas, barbecues, big white tent meals. The light is just unreal at this time of year. There's something about the way the shadows play on the stucco. Everything's warm and golden and melting like honey. I'd absolutely love it if you could hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.